don't quite know if you can see it or not, but you may have noticed that there is an empty space on the bookcase behind me, and that is because today I am doing a ranking every single Tessa Afshar book that I have read in order of my personal favorites. Let's get into it. So if you don't know who Tessa Afshar is probably one of my favorite biblical fiction authors. She is amazing. Her books are so well researched. They come to life so well. And one of them, can't tell you because it's a spoiler. One of them is probably one of my top 5, maybe even top 3 at least biblical fiction books of all time, and it has stood the test of time and it remains my favorite. Some books have like come and gone, but just always up there. I said what it was. Should I edit that out? I'm gonna edit it out and then tell you later on in the video. But all that to say, Tessa Afshar is a truly amazing author. I have loved reading her books. Most of you are probably familiar with her, but just in case, I'll go ahead and read her bio. Tessa Afshar is a best-selling author of historical and biblical fiction. She holds a Master of Divinity from Yale University, where she served as co-chair of the Evangelical Fellowship. She worked in ministry for nearly 20 years before becoming a full-time writer. Visit her online at tessaafshar.com. So she just is amazing. And quite frankly, that's all I can really say about that. Personal least favorite to personal most favorite. Here's the caveat to that. There is no such thing as a least favorite, especially where Tessa Afshar is concerned, because I love them all. That's why I keep reading them and buying them. But some, I must admit, are loved more than others. No hard feelings. There's just the nature of having a favorite means that one of them has to be the least favorite. That's just the way it goes, unfortunately. So let's just dive right in. I am going to first throw in a few honorable mentions of ones that I haven't actually read. Okay, so these ones are not going to be included in the video whatsoever because I haven't actually read them. Harvest of Rubies and Harvest of Gold. I bought these forever ago. I think it was like 2019, 2018, actually. And I just never got around to reading them because the thing about Tessa, by the time I got hooked on Tessa, she was already coming out with more books and there were new books coming out all the time. So I never got a chance to really go back and reread the old ones. I never got to read them. They live on my shelf because I hold out faith that one day I will. And also I'm a bit of a completionist, so I need to have them just so I can have all the Tessa Afshar books. But yeah. Those ones I will not be ranking simply because I never read them. And then Thief of Corinth by Tessa Afshar. I actually think that I might have read a few chapters of this and something came up because I have like a vague memory of the beginning, but I don't remember anything else about it. I know for a fact I never finished it, and I don't remember enough of it to really speak into it. So that one will also be not in this video. Okay, so starting out with least favorite, and this might actually be, well, this is all going to be controversial because all of Tessa's books are amazing, but I have to do it. So let me just, this is hard. At the bottom of my list is going to be, hold your comments, Pearl in the Sand. This is the original cover edition, and then this is the anniversary edition with the rose gold foiling on the cover. This, I believe, was her debut. So it's the oldest of the Tessa Afshar books to my knowledge, and it's amazing. I loved this book. I remember when this book edition came out, I did like a whole giant long YouTube video all just about this book. It's a beautiful edition too because the chapter headers are in color. It's so hard. This is, if you don't know, this is a Rahab retelling, and it's a really phenomenal, well done Rahab retelling. I should do like a tier ranking just of Rahab and Joshua retellings that I've read, because that would also be a good video, because it would be like at the top of those, but it's at the bottom of this list. I think maybe just because I haven't reread it that often, that many times. It's not like my most favorite Tessa Afshar book. I would recommend it, but it's not one that I like think about all the time. It's really good, really sweet. At the time, it was the first Tessa Afshar book I read. I read it for Booktubeathon in 2018, which that's a blast from the past. It's sentimental to me, but it has to go at the bottom just because it's foundational. But that's a good thing. It's a compliment. I'm calling it the foundational Tessa Afshar book. Second to last, second from the bottom, I am going to go with, for no reason whatsoever, I'm going to go, just gut feeling, I'm going to go with Bread of Angels by Tessa Afshar. This is a Lydia retelling. I don't know why I keep saying by Tessa Afshar. They're all by Tessa Afshar. Ignore me. It's a Lydia retelling, a retelling of the story of Lydia from the New Testament. I love this book. It's been so long since I read this book, I can't recall a single detail about it. I think I'm just going to go based on vibes. I would put this one above Pearl in the Sand. It's New Testament, so I love the New Testament era. There's a lot of, surprisingly, I think there's a lot of action in this book. Well, action or drama, whichever one you want to call it. Just think that there are others that I think I want to put above. So I'm going to go with Pearl in the Sand, then Bread of Angels. After Bread of Angels, again, I think I just have to really rip off the Band-Aid and go on gut feeling here with very little to no explanation, because otherwise it's going to be way too hard to justify my decisions each time. But I'm going to go with In the Field of Grace by Tessa Afshar. This is a Ruth retelling. This is probably my favorite of all Ruth retellings that I have ever read. Why do I love this one so much? Because, and this is maybe a minor spoiler, but I don't really think that it is, this is framed as David looking back on this story and retelling it. At the end of the book, it is framed as if David had told this story. It just blew my mind. I knew, obviously, there was Ruth and Boaz, and then descendants, and then David. But it was fascinating to me to think about David just thinking about, oh yeah, this story from his family history. And it's, amazingly researched and really beautifully written and, just so soft and warm and nurturing and, healing to read. After In the Field of Grace, I'm going to put, oh, this hurts, Jewel of the Nile. We read this for, as you can see with the sticker, Biblical Fiction Buffs. Back in the day, I used to host an online book club called Biblical Fiction Buffs. What a wild ride. This was one of the books we read for BFB, and I loved reading it, first of all, with the Biblical Fiction Buffs. I think I actually still have some highlights and notes in here. Signed, that's fun. I have a lot of history with this book. The thing about Jewel of the Nile, there is a character, Theo. Apparently, again, this is around the time when I entered into the world of Tessa Afshar. Thief of Corinth had already come out, and I had not been able to backtrack and catch up before Daughter of Rome came out, and I didn't realize that there were any connections, so I just put Thief of Corinth down and read Daughter of Rome, and I never went back to Thief of Corinth. Well, what I have since learned from other Tessa Afshar fans, more devoted and dedicated than I, is I believe, I could be wrong, but I think Theo is a side character in both Daughter of Rome and Thief of Corinth. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I haven't read Thief of Corinth, so I wouldn't know. I remember when this book came out, everyone was so excited that Theo was getting his story. I saw that comment everywhere of people being and Theo's finally getting his story. And I think that for me, because these aren't technically a series, they're not connected, and I didn't know they were supposed to be connected, so I didn't read them as you should read them. The reference was completely lost on me. I did not connect as well to Theo's character as I think other people did, and therefore the relationship between Theo and Sherilyn, I think is her name, it didn't land as well as others have landed, I think. And so for that reason, because of my own fault and being lost on who Theo was and what was going on with Theo, I'm going to put this one slightly down on the list. Just slightly. Not coincidentally, next up, I'm going to put in Daughter of Rome. This is a Priscilla and Aquila story. I remember the feeling of reading this book like it was yesterday. It stuck with me. I remember forcing my cousin to read this book. I was like, oh, good, you're here. You came over. Read this and I will watch you read it. I loved this book. The feeling of reading it, it was just so I don't know if it was the time in my life or just maybe where the story came to me, how the story came into my life, but it was just so transformative is a word I would use, inspiring. All I can really describe it is the feeling of sunshine, when a cloud just passes in front of the sun and then boom, rays of sunlight. That's how, and you just get that take your breath away feeling. That's how I felt reading Daughter of Rome. I had never really thought about the characters, the historical figures of Priscilla and Aquila in quite so much depth and detail before, and it changed me, is all I can say. Moving on. I shall now posit for your consideration The Peasant King by Tessa Afshar. And this actually hurts to be putting in this spot, but I have to. So the Peasant King and the Hidden Prince are a duology that take place in like the Persian Empire. Really great books. I loved this one. I just loved the first one more. And they're a duology, so I think that this couple in this book are the parents of the girl in this book, which I love. I love when books have like family connections and you follow the same family through different generations. But I just loved these ones so much that every time I was reading about her, I was like, oh, but your parents are so cool. Which, to be honest, is how I feel in real life sometimes, because I'll be in like church or out with like people that know my parents, and then they're just like, oh, you're so-and-so's daughter. Like, I get that a lot because I have really great parents and they are very popular. But like, that's kind of how I feel about this book, is like, she's really great, but her parents are really popular. In my mind, that's how I'm seeing it. So I loved both of these, but for me, it would just have to go Peasant King, then Hidden Prince, just because I loved the Hidden Prince so much. And speaking of the Hidden Prince, guys, the plot twists, the vibes, the pain that I endured reading this book, I think everyone should read it because it's amazing. We're getting down to the wire. I'm going to go with gut feeling. Again, I have to go on gut. The Queen's Cook. This is the Queen Esther's Court series. Let me tell you, I was not expecting to love this series. Quite frankly, I don't often love books about Queen Esther. I feel like there is an overabundance of Queen Esther books, and the ones I read of the first are now my favorites, and because there are so many to choose from, I have a bit of Esther fatigue, at least in media. I love the biblical story of Esther. It's obviously an amazing story. There's so much depth to it, so much we can learn, so much that can be applied. But just when I found out Tessa Afshar was writing a series called Queen Esther's Court, I was kind of like, oh, more Queen Esther books. But let me tell you why these are different and why I love them so much. These books are not about Queen Esther. These are about people in her court, her servants, her maids, her attendants, her cook. Wait, yes, her cook. Sorry, I couldn't remember which book I was holding up. And this is not her most recent release. This is her second most recent release, but most recent series. This book just brings you into the world of Persia and shows you the story of Esther playing out, but just from the eyes of someone in her court. And likewise, with the next one I'm going to put on the list, The Royal Artisan, they just each bring like a different side to the story, a different perspective to the story from what was going on in like the daily lives of the servants, of the attendants, of the people who lived in Persia. And it's just such a brilliant way to make the story of Esther fresh. Not that it needs refreshing. The Bible is amazing. The story of Esther is amazing. The Bible doesn't need refreshing. It doesn't need changing. It doesn't need adding to. But it brought it to life in such a way, both of these books, that it made me want to go back and read my Bible and open it up again and go, wait, I never thought about that. Let me read through the biblical account again with this in mind and just see what I learned. I'm going to put these in this order in the stack. And if you've been paying attention, you'll know this is now the penultimate book, the spoilery book that I edited out my mention of earlier. My favorite, my all-time favorite Tessa Afshar book. I give you Land of Silence by Tessa Afshar. This is an account of the woman with the issue of blood who touches the hem of Jesus' garment and is healed. And her story is a few verses in the Gospels. And Tessa Afshar expands on her life and just shows the hardship of what she went through on a daily basis in such a way that is so moving and so powerful and so hope-filled. It changed my life, and I genuinely have lines memorized from this book that I have quoted probably daily since it came out. I can still think of them word for word in my head, of the things that just truly changed my life and changed how I thought of God. For that reason, it is my all-time favorite Tessa Afshar book, if not one of my all-time favorite books of all time. So let's see if I can lift the stack. We have, in order of my personal least favorite to my personal most favorite, excluding the ones that I haven't read, just to recap and summarize for you. Pearl in the Sand, Bread of Angels, In the Field of Grace, Jewel of the Nile, Daughter of Rome, The Peasant King, The Hidden Prince, The Queen's Cook, The Royal Artisan, and Land of Silence. Let me know. How many of these have you read? How would you rank them? What order would you put them in? I'm going to put these back on my shelves now, and I will see you guys in my next video. If you want more information about me, my book reviews, or the books that I have written, be sure to check out the description box below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!